Order. The House is resumed. Members, the House is debating the third readings of the Commerce International Cooperation and Fees Amendment Bill, the Credit Contracts and Consumer Finance International Cooperation Amendment Bill, the Fair Trading International Cooperation Amendment Bill, and the Telecommunications International Cooperation Amendment Bill. Dr. Rajan Prasad has the call. Again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Just under 6.5 minutes.
Well, except that it's a third go at it, Mr. Speaker, and it feels like a bit of a conspiracy. 2 weeks ago, I get given a minute and a half. A couple of hours ago, I get given another 2.5 minutes. It's the third go. So, but it's good that I have the chance, Mr. Speaker, to finish what I was going to say. And as I said, it's a bill that we support, and it's a bill that puts in place some very good provisions around cooperation with Australia to give meat, if you like, to the memorandum of understanding that has been signed. And the bit here, Mr. Speaker, that is of interest to me is the cooperation arrangements that the bill proposes, and that seems to be the flavour of the provisions in the bill. And all of the bills now that have been broken up into the four. So there's a desire here to get regulators to cooperate to manage competition and consumer effects of transactions on domestic markets. And then in the bill itself, there are the provisions of how information that has been acquired compulsorily on this side of the Tasman is then to be shared with regulators across the board, and that is provided for. And further down in the bill, there are some safeguards that are built in about the sharing of this information. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, it says very clearly and very directly that the matter of maintaining confidentiality of information and the storage of information, the copying and returning and disposal of anything that's provided, and the payment costs. Those are some of the provisions. But it's good to see in a bill those kinds of provisions put in place. So here is the point here is about information sharing and maintaining the confidentiality of information. But I have to say, Mr. Speaker, that this is not a good week, if you like, to have a look at. Mr. Bridges will soon realise exactly what I'm talking about. Mr. Bridges, it's about maintaining the confidentiality of information. So for the members' government, this has been a bad week where information that should have been well protected was actually made available accidentally. So there you are, Mr. Bridges, I say. His government now has a bad record. And therefore, this part of the bill, I'm glad it's here, but I hope his government can deliver on this, because the kind of information that's collected around credit and around payments, etc., are really highly confidential. Mr. Bridges has gone quiet, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased he has, because he acknowledges that there are some holes in the government's commitment to protecting information and protecting privacy in that way. So those provisions are here. The government has had a bad week. It's got a lot of work to get through to regain the confidence of the public around information and around maintaining the confidentiality of information. And this bill enables that type of information collected here, to be treated as a confidential matter, to be shared with our counterparts in Australia. So, there is Mr. Speaker, there are many warnings from the recent experience that the government has had around ACC, around MSD just a few days ago about information. So so with those kinds of statements and those kinds of anxiety we have about confidentiality of information, Mr. Speaker, and we're pleased to be supporting the bill, and I'm glad that I finally get to finish my last comments without interruption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
David Clendon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And